What is the first thing you think of when you hear 300ZX? Oh, what a pain that car is to work on, or oh, the engine bay is so cramped, it's such a nightmare to work on. Well guys, in the process of building my 300ZX, I have focused not only on keeping the factory VG30, but also just making it easier to work on. I actually need to remove one of my turbos. I have an exhaust leak and I believe it is coming from the turbo to the manifold. So in today's video, we will be removing one of the turbos from my 300ZX and reinstalling it without removing the motor, because it's entirely possible with these new manifolds that have been offered to us from Polar Engineering. If you guys have watched my previous videos, you know that I've installed those on this car. They are V-band to the turbos and to the downpipe, making these way easier to remove. So without further ado, let's get into this. But first, before we get into today's video, be sure to head on over to the website, billybuilds.com. I got fresh merchandise on there. Well, kind of fresh. These were actually just put on there a couple weeks ago. They are up and ready to be purchased. I got some other ones that are not here in front of me right now. This has kind of been the go-to. It is actually my favorite. And then I also have this one, which actually has my own car on it. So head on over, check out the website. I'll put the link down in the description below. But let's get into today's video, guys. I spent a lot of time building this car, and I kind of just want to enjoy it at this point. Yes, I want to turn up the boost, but I want to make sure it's 100% solid. And yes, one could argue that, well, if anything's going to happen, it's going to happen. I agree. But you know what? I want to be able to at least drive the car before something happens. With that said, definitely taking it easy. But for today in this video, we'll be definitely removing my passenger side exhaust turbo, fixing the exhaust leaks, replacing the exhaust V-band clamps, and getting it all back together. So it's gonna be a lot of work going on underneath the car that you may or may not see, but I'll definitely do my best to get you guys some great video of how to remove the turbos, or how easy it is to actually access the turbos while the motor and everything is still in the car. Also, I kind of upgraded my microphone. Hopefully it'll help improve the audio quality overall in general. Just another little tidbit, I am reinvesting back into the YouTube channel. I'm trying to get this thing up and going, as you guys may know. It'd be really great if we could get this channel blowing up this year. I'm working my hardest. I did take last week off, but we're getting there. It's like 7:30 in the evening. So I'm starting on this tonight. I'm hoping to get everything pulled apart tonight. That way tomorrow I can just come in here, put it all back together, easy peasy, and have the car up and running. I can drive it. For starters, you can see the turbo down in here. I'm gonna try my best to leave the oil feed line connected still. The turbo wastegate does not need to be removed. All the intake piping, downpipe, exhaust, all that has to get removed. So the oil drain hose, however, that will definitely have to come off. No big deal there, but it will have to be from underside the car. Obviously, because I don't have a lift, I'm gonna be very limited on what you guys will be able to see from under the vehicle. So I'm gonna do my best to get captured in this video, but it's gonna be very difficult. Anyways, let's get into pulling this apart and fixing this exhaust leak. This is so aggravating. So I don't know if you guys can really see, but we got the intake piping off. Obviously the charge piping is completely off. Here's the bolt for my V-band flange holding the turbo on. The bolt to get the downpipe off is actually facing down. So I'll have to get that from underneath. I may also need to take the dump tube off, which the bolt for that is right there. Not a big deal. I'll be able to do that from the top. This bolt here does not get touched because that holds the wastegate on to the manifold. So don't have to worry about that. And for the record, this side is pretty much an exact replica of that side. The biggest difference is this side has the harness in the way. So there's a little bit more stuff to climb over because we got the brake master cylinder, we got the harness here, I got my vacuum hose for the breather port right here. There's just a lot more going on over here. However, for today, I'm only gonna do this passenger side turbo because that's the only one that's leaking. On that note, let me get the car up off the ground on jack stands, and we'll crawl underneath it and get everything unbolted underneath. If you look down here, I got one little 10mm right there. This is what's holding the entire downpipe on. So I want to take this nut off by hand, that way if it drops I don't lose it. Or I just drop it anyways, you know. This should, there we go. As you can see, the turbo is literally right here. It's not hard to get to at all. Everything's within reach. Honestly, these bolts here are probably harder to get to than a lot of the bolts going around the turbo. Here's a downpipe bolt, really simple to get to. I might have to undo some of this harness, but again, it's not the end of the world. Tricky part is obviously going to be getting the turbo out. Not just like out, but like I guess out. Let's go ahead and pop this 14 millimeter off, and then the 11 up top, and then we should be good. I believe that's a 14. 14. Oh no, that's the 15. Oh, damn it. It's American. Who uses American anymore? Z1? Z1, I'm looking at you. So, everything else is loose. Therefore, by releasing this nut, the entire turbo is now loose. Give me 1 second. I have to find a way to do this so that the turbo doesn't fall. The V-band is almost off. Turbo is coming down. Woo! Here we go, guys. That's it. It might be a little bit more difficult putting it back up in there. You can see pretty well where the exhaust leak was. I mean, it's fairly obvious. It was all around the freaking turbo. You obviously could see up in there where it was leaking at, but you can also see right here on the turbo pretty well. All that black mark there is just exhaust soot. We'll get back to this tomorrow, where I'll be reinstalling the turbo. Okay guys, I apologize if it sounded like I was yelling into the microphone yesterday. You'll have to be a little patient with me as I'm still trying to work out how the audio will turn out with these new mics. But anyways, let's get back into installing the turbos. I bought these turbos back in, I want to say it was about 2022 or right around there. If you look closely here, you can see that it looks like they actually updated the design of the V-bands. So on the old design, it is just, well, it's flat across the top. And on these, they actually beveled it upwards. A little bit difference between the two. I think the biggest thing with these is it definitely wanted to expand and not seal up once it was crushed once. Because that's the idea. Once these squeeze in, it pushes these outer lips outwards. Well, it's supposed to also draw the turbo flange closer together. So a little bit of a design upgrade between the two, but these are the new designs we got for the V-band going to the turbo manifold and the V-band going to the downpipe. So I'm gonna go ahead and get these set up in there and get that turbo installed. I would like to apologize in advance if this camera gets knocked out of whack, because there is a strong possibility when it comes to either the camera getting knocked out or my face being hit by a 10-pound, 15-pound turbo. Sorry, it's gonna be the camera. I think we are lined up on the V-band. My problem now is I can't get the nut started. Oh, fuck. No, wait. Maybe I can. Guys, I am a freaking beast. Let's go, boys. Woo! And my battery's dying. But we got it. Oh, that was not easy. That's a lot of strength. Okay, guys. I got the turbo up in there. I'm taking a short break right now, but I was just thinking, if you are going to swap out your turbos, and if for any reason you need to pull out your turbos without removing the engine, if you decide to do this, they make V-band clamps that are basically quick release. Basically, you don't have to worry about threading the nut on. It just kind of hooks in place. I highly recommend getting those. I'm gonna be honest, these are the cheap Chinese things. Obviously, they did learn from their past mistakes, but they're still not the little quick release kind, which if I ever have to do this again, I am definitely spending the money and getting the quick release ones. But with a little bit more experience in doing this, you could probably swap out a turbo on this car in about 30 to 40 minutes, pretty easily. It's not that hard. Well, after doing it a couple times and with the proper tools as well as the proper V-bands. Make all the difference in the world. So anyways, I'm gonna carry on with reinstalling the turbo, get the oil lines hooked back up, all the charge piping connected, exhaust back in. I'm just happy it's done. I think it's not even noon yet. I started at 11, so that only took me about 30 minutes of fighting with it. Anyways, let's get back to it. Okay. This is gonna take a while. Now, I want to install my oil feed line and get the downpipe back onto the wastegate here before I install the downpipe to the turbo. So let me get underneath the car and get that started. I really need a lift. This is exhausting. I'm getting too old for this. Okay, found my nut. Oh man, at least it's not as heavy as the turbo. What a nightmare that was. Whose idea was it to buy a 300ZX anyway? What a dumb idea. Some of you are like, oh, you asked for this, you brought it upon yourself. Yeah, you're not wrong. It's just the way I am. 300ZX owners are just built different, that's all. Okay, so now that the turbo's in, it is time to fit the downpipe. Should be pretty straightforward. I do have a new V-band clamp for this as well. So yeah, let's go ahead and throw this thing up in there. Remember where I put the nut? There we go. I have a problem with these nuts. Ah. There we go. Okay, turbo's in, oil feed, oil drain is connected, exhaust is plumbed in. I am also gonna remove my steering column shaft here just to reposition my steering wheel, because steering wheel, obviously, as you may have seen, is not straight. So we're gonna straighten that out. In the meantime, let's go ahead and get all this other stuff buttoned up. For some reason, everyone on the YouTube is so, for lack of a better word, anal about the position of your steering wheel after you just rebuilt an entire motor and put it all together. The steering wheel not being straight is for some reason the end of the world. The alignment and everything else is still good as far as the tie rods go. That means no tie rods were unscrewed or loosened. You can unbolt them from the spindle, put them back on. It'll be in the same spot they were before. However, the moment you spin that inner tie rod from the outer tie rod, it can throw off the entire alignment. So real quick, if your steering wheel is not straight, but you know for a fact the toe is straight, all you have to do, real quick little trick, take your steering shaft right here, you unbolt it, there's this little 12 or 13 millimeter going to the steering rack, unbolt that, lift this up, spin it such that the steering wheel is straight, and then slide it right back onto the slip yoke. All right, so there we go. I believe that should be straight, or at least for the most part. Straight enough to where you people on the internet who want to point out that my steering wheel isn't straight won't say anything anymore because you won't know a difference. It just rained here, so the camera might be a little foggy just from all the humidity that's in the air currently, because it is insanely hot out today. Anyways, let's start the car, see how it runs. Sounds pretty good. I think I got rid of my exhaust leak. There might be a small one underneath the car still, but that's not a big deal. Sitting at 83% ethanol content. That is insane. Really good ethanol content right now. Kind of surprised. So the car's been idling now for quite a bit. Sounds good. There might still be a small exhaust leak somewhere. To be honest, At this point, I tried everything I could for the most part. If there's still something else going on with the exhaust leak, I really don't know what else to do. I do have some copper RTV gasket that I could put on to help seal the V-bands a little better. Unfortunately, it's not something that I really want to do. There's something about putting RTV near my turbos that I just not a big fan of. I guess a lot of people do it, so I might have to end up doing that. I just gotta go drive it. I gotta move that car, but I also gotta move that car. But then we probably also need to get E85 for the car, so I got a couple things going against me here. Sure does sound good though. Yeah, I like it. Okay guys, that pretty much does it for everything I wanted to get done today on the Nissan. But I hope that answered the question for many of you as to whether or not you can remove the turbos with the Polar Engineering V-band turbo manifolds with the engine still in the car. But let's get this car off the jack stands onto the ground. Let's take it for a test drive. I think we might end up going to get E85 here because I'm almost out. I have a bad feeling about this. Nothing's really going my way today so far. Just lately, in general. This was supposed to be a quick drive, but I figured since I wasn't able to fix the exhaust leaks anyways, I might as well enjoy the car.
Continue on State Road 56 West, 1 mile. Take the next right, then turn right.
First gas station run on the new motor. Well, I wouldn't say new motor, but since the refresh, I'd say we're doing all right. All right, so I'm not gonna make the same mistake I did the one time where I tried connecting as I was doing a pull. Do a quick 1, 2, 3 maybe. Don't hear any knocking, oil pressure's still good. Transmission tunnel is getting extremely hot. I wanted to drive the car at night so it would be cooler, because right now I'm sweating bullets. I don't know if you guys can see. It's pretty bad. All right, you guys, made it back home. Got some data from the vehicle, did a little highway pull there. Eventful drive, not too eventful. It was just hot. Next order of business is definitely gonna be getting the heat management under control. I'm gonna get right back to you guys probably another day here because my camera's about to die.